Sonic Underground Episode 40, Virtual Danger. Is it a virtual reality machine episode? This is the final episode, remember? I see a white bird flying around with beautiful music playing. This show looks so much better than the CGI shows like Sonic Boom that's not even funny. I heard the show is badly animated. Yeah, right. I love hand-drawn animation. This looks great. The heroes waste time playing a VR video game. Wow, this show is ahead of its time. Sonia pulls their plugs and nags them about all the times she called them and says that it's time to go. Sonic says that they learned valuable skills by playing that game. They go to a place where the door opens automatically for them, and they go to Cyrus, who sees camera footage of when Sonic tried and failed to pilot a plane in a training exercise. Cyrus asks if he's sure he wants to try again. Why doesn't he just skip to Sonia doing it? It's arbitrary that he even asks him. But Sonic says that he's desperate for a second pilot. Okay, so that's why. After all, this time Cyrus needs 2 pilots. Is this a real flying ship or a simulation? Should I be worried or not? Sonic avoids the lasers and lands the plane perfectly. Cyrus asks how they got so good, and the answer is their video game. Sonia says Robotnik's auditing next week, and so he's bound to figure out how they've been skimming their supply ships. So he decides that he might as well steal away all of its supply ships while he's at it. Manic hacks, and Sonia tells Cyrus that he needs her to be the pilot. Cyrus doesn't believe her and says that Sonic aced his test. I guess this means that next time Sonic will screw up as a pilot because people are showing faith in him. That tends to be how the writing goes. Sonia goes into a plane and a robot tells Robotnik some bad news. He says to get a surveillance bot up there so we can see what's going on. Sonic flies a plane and the surveillance bot sees him flying it. He acts cheerful, saying hi mom, not taking things seriously at all, and when the plane shoots his airship with missiles, he nervously continues to joke and snark at him, looking kind of pathetic. The plane starts to smoke from the damage. Fortunately, he makes it head on a crash course for Robotnik. Logically, this should be what takes him down. Sonic hopes he didn't cut this too close, and there's some tension. He jumps out of the window at just the right time, and for no reason, the airship stops before it could skewer the main villain of the series that I'm long since sick of by now. How many continuities is he in? Cyrus says Robotnik has to re-gear all his factories to avoid cargo ships. He says that Robotnik was really hurt this time, not as much as he should have been. Sonic's reminded again of what a good pilot he's become, but his plane was all smoking. I guess he completed the mission anyways. And Manic decides to take a nap. I wonder if something bad will result from this. It doesn't seem like it. Instead, we cut to them playing Castle Conquest again, and it turns out that Sonia is playing the game too, and against them, so she knocks them out of their planes, and she goes after them in hoverboards. Apparently, she can summon her instrument in the video game too, and so can the other heroes. I skip a song, and then Manic says to Sonic that they're about to be blasted. Manic wakes up when Sonic shakes him, and says he must be dreaming, and he says he was dreaming about Destructo coming after them. So the song was in a dream? That's double padding. Then we cut to, is this Castle Crushers again? Someone with a nerdy voice and the appearance of a monster shoots a base in a game. He says he wrote the software himself to cause that explosion, and he tells the heroes to download his software and install it. This sounds too good to be true. Gee, I wonder if he's a bad guy who sent the heroes a virus by Robotnik. Then the heroes use the software he sent them to attack his ship in the game. He says that he'll give them software to create a whole new level, but first he wants to show them something and defeats them in the game. Then he sends them another download, and they're just trusting the download from this stranger who they're fighting in a competitive game. So the heroes have an internet game? The heroes in a dystopian dictatorship can compete with online players in a game? Isn't this a world where Robotnik banned music because he's that much of a control freak? Sonia says she's just passing through, implying that in real life she didn't try to play the game to get better as a pilot. I mean, it makes sense that she's already confident in her piloting skills. Finally, the bad guy tells Sonic he's done good work on fighting Robotnik, and then when Sonic brags about it, it turns out that the bad guy is actually Robotnik and not even an agent of his. And because of the virus he sent the heroes, he's able to warp away Sonic and Manic thanks to their game headgear. Or rather, he warps them so that they're inside the game. And if Robotnik can destroy them with his airship in the game, they're gone forever. Sonic magically flies to the top of his airship and it shocks him, but somehow doesn't kill him. That would have been too dark, so I understand, but then don't have him shocked at all. Sonia tells Cyrus what happened, and Cyrus says he didn't even know this could happen. If they pull the plug, the heroes will have no path back. He plans to reverse the program to get Robotnik in the game, and then pull the plug on him, hopefully. If they get in the control room, they can pull Robotnik inside, and Sonia will have to be the pilot. Cyrus plans to disable Robotnik's satellite dish so that he loses control. This is the final episode, remember, and it's just as much pointless filler as the rest of the episodes. Where are all of the heroes' allies that they met throughout the show, like Mindy and the Cyborg? Where's their mother? Granted, maybe it being a terrible finale is subjective, because this is technically a very threatening plan of Robotnik's. Robotnik's flying after the heroes in an airship, and all they can do is run away. The airship even teleports to them when they're hiding in a cave. So, maybe this could be a good finale? Especially because it turns out that Robotnik made reality ensue. Now when Sonic whirlwinds, he gets really dizzy, as logic would dictate. Robotnik has full power over the program they're in, so he can reprogram him to be like that. And he can't just reprogram him to explode? Sadly, the minute Robotnik gets the most threatening, Sonia's plane starts going after Robotnik. She lands it so the heroes can go into it. You know, this would be a good finale if Cyrus disabling the satellite was what took down Robotnik. He is an engineer after all, so it makes sense that a technology character could take down another technology character, while the action characters just distracted him doing action things. That tends to be how Archie and Sadie M would be. Sonic would be the distraction, and the other heroes would do the important stuff. Suddenly, the heroes end up falling down a stone structure out of their plane, and they run into the control room where Sonia plans for Robotnik to get sucked into the game. He really should be just kept in there. Cyrus holds a damaged wire, says game over, and the heroes return to reality. Sonia says Cyrus found the satellite dish, and Robotnik says next time, hedgehogs. So is he trapped in the video game now? Is he taken down?
You mean get Sonic and Manic out?
No, get Robotnik in! I can put someone in the game, and if they get inside this control room, they can pull Robotnik inside.
Sonic says he'll give the cargo back, and the heroes play the games to pilot the cargo ships. The autopilots fail to respond on the cargo ships, and they fly towards Robotnik's base and create a giant explosion. And Robotnik shows no signs of having escaped the base before that could happen.
Collision imminent.
No!
All right.
Game over, Butnik.
Sadly, he's still able to say hedgehogs as if he's still alive, even during that explosion. But maybe he was only able to say it because the walls of his base were still in the process of being destroyed. So when Sonic says game over Robotnik, I'm just gonna assume that this means he died. Thank you!
Game over, Robotnik.
He died in the explosion because the heroes led cargo ships to his base. Isn't that how certain towers were destroyed in 2001? Making this kind of harsher in hindsight? So how does Eggman's base survive this? Sure, Robotnik being defeated this way is quick and easy, but it's a million times better than the ending I thought the show might get, where Robotnik isn't taken down at all, or ends on a cliffhanger. There's no proof that he survived this, so we're left to assume that he didn't. I'm confused as all hell about why he's not stuck in the video game dimension, since Cyrus clearly said that he would be if he was lured to the control room. I thought that would be how he'd get taken down, but instead we see him sitting in his base in his chair in real life for no reason. Instead, some cargo ships crash into his base, and there's no implication that the base survives this explosion. So I'm taking whatever I can get.
No!
The whole time I was reviewing the show, I was planning on ending it with a joke where the real finale was that one day the Oracle of Delphius woke up and realized, wait a minute, why don't I take down Robotnik? I'm 10 times more powerful than anyone on the planet. Why didn't I think of this before? So he warped to Robotnik when he was sleeping and killed him.
Your days of tyranny are numbered.
The end. But fortunately, the finale of the show was enough for me to at least assume that it was game over for him. And not because of the Oracle doing something that he should have done years ago, but instead because of the heroes themselves. It was good of the finale to have Cyrus involved, since he's the rotor of the show. It was shameful that he didn't show up in every episode, or get mentioned at least, but the point is that he does something useful. A good finale would have been a whole bunch of allies that the heroes made helping them, or them meeting their mother again. But I guess you take what you can get with a status quo focused show. After the heroes get sucked into the supply ship pilot video game, Cyrus says that if someone gets inside the control room in the virtual reality, they can pull Robotnik inside. And yet he doesn't. And he's seen in Reality Land at the end. Huh? Anyway, Cyrus disables Robotnik's satellite dish while the heroes are in the game, so Robotnik loses control and the game's over. The game does end, literally speaking, as the heroes are pulled out of it. And I guess that's why Robotnik was in Reality Land? That just makes Cyrus look like an idiot then, because he could have trapped them in virtual reality forever and ensured that he was taken down. He could be like a sealed evil in a can. But instead, he had the game be merciful and bring him back to his base, where hopefully he was blown up because the heroes make cargo ships crash into his tower. It's a very sudden and anticlimactic victory. Well, not really anticlimactic, right? I think the reason I feel this way is because it wasn't at the end of a long, drawn-out epic fight with the heroes where they're equally matched. I know I can't expect that, especially since Robotnik's immortal and Sonic isn't, but we kind of got something like that in issue 50 of Archie. Robotnik and Sonic let out all their frustrations at each other in a one-on-one fight, till eventually Robotnik disappeared. It wasn't Sonic that did it, but it was still after a fight. And it was after a big threatening plan of Robotnik's got foiled that was threatening the entire world. The finale would have been more epic if Robotnik made a plan that threatened literally the entire world and had the potential to make that happen, and it was in the process of succeeding. Unfortunately, they already blew their load earlier with the Spybot episode, because the heroes destroyed all the Flybots that would brainwash people. That could have been a good finale. However, I'm willing to be nice here. Robotnik did have a plan where he was threatening. He sucked the heroes into a game where all they could do was run, and Sonic no longer had the ability to whirlwind. I guess if he took away his running too, he would have won way too quickly, so we can't have that. But if he can make Sonic dizzy from his own whirlwind and he didn't take away his running, then that was pretty stupid. He made a plan where the heroes became helpless. And I love that Sonya got to save the day for a change, because she piloted a plane to save them. The video game from the start was a double check of Scud. Not only did it make the heroes better pilots, but they all got sucked into it. But that's where the positive end, because they don't reunite with their mother, and there's no callbacks, there's not a bunch of callbacks to earlier episodes. All because they thought that Sonic Adventure coming out was a good excuse to cancel a show. Which I'm sure was making them money anyways. While Robotnik threatening the heroes was the epic intense part, the episode takes forever to get to that point. So before that, it's all just another filler episode that's no different from any other episode of the show. It only decides to be a finale when it's almost over. It's clear that the show is cancelled with almost no time to prepare for it, because this is just a typical episode of the show that can only be reinterpreted as a good finale in the ending, where some cargo ships hit Robotnik's base, and he's taken down once and for all. Game over, Robotnik. What made me frustrated, though, is that's probably not what was intended to happen. They probably expect us to believe that he's still alive. Which just makes me furious with Cyrus for not altering the code of the game so that Robotnik would stay in the game forever. That would be common sense. Instead, he brought him back to reality when it's the final episode. You would think that the final episode would be about the heroes reuniting with their mother and spending the whole time with her. And it would really drive home how stupid it was that they didn't do that before, since all it would really change is that she'd be with them and they talk to her. Instead, all the heroes is chasing after her was completely pointless. Just like I assumed from the start, since I knew the show had an unsatisfying ending. From reading the comments of the episode, one of which agreed with me with the idea of Robotnik's death, I learned that there was supposed to be a comic in Archie to give the series a proper conclusion, but they canceled that too. So I can only assume that the reason the show and that got canceled was because they finally heard the complaints about the bad songs, but they took it too much to heart and canceled the entire continuity. It's just like Sega making all of the new Sonic games have extremely kiddie plots. People complained about the opposite happening, and they went overboard on damage control. Here, they canceled the show because it had flaws instead of fixing the flaws. I read on TV Tropes that it was canceled because of Sonic Adventure. If it wasn't canceled at all because of its flaws, then that just shows how completely tone-deaf Sega is, that they don't know any of the complaints about the show. I guess it was better back then than now, though, where Sega knows way too much about what the fans want and make an entire cartoon kowtowing to them, pathetically. I liked it when Sega took more risks, like in Archie. That was cool, honestly. The next Sonic show I'll review is probably going to be Sonic X. I mean, I've written a review of episode 1 already. I feel like it's 90% filler from seeing the first episode alone. The plot's too basic. But since Sonic X isn't overrated, it doesn't have the unfittingly middle-aged surfer dude try-hard Sonic voice like Sonic Boom does with Roger, I think Sonic X deserves attention much more than the best, quote-unquote, Sonic cartoon. At least X tried to take things seriously for an action series. At least they had tension and action.